What's up? This is the Game Forums Extended Forum, episode 22. I'm Zach,
And I'm Lindsay.
and today we're going to be talking about the PlayStation 5 reveal event being delayed. Kingdoms of Amalur is coming back, the Sega Game Gear, and Last of Us Part 2 review embargo. But first, what have you been playing?
This last week I played a good bit of Gorn. I had a lot of fun with that game and put a review out for it.
Yeah,
Um, I gotta say, a little quirky, a little kooky, but a lot of fun. Um, I also went back in and started playing a little bit more um, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. I want to try and finish that one up and do a
yeah,
review on that one sometime soon. And in the meantime, I was trying to see when the update for Call of Duty Season 4 was supposed to come out. It was supposed to come out Thursday, and they have delayed it, I think, until next Tuesday. Um, so I played a little bit of Call of Duty since I'd already done the update and was just looking to see if they started the new season yet, but they had not.
yeah.
And then to my surprise, Crossout did a new update, and they put out a new battle pass. It's their second battle pass ever. So I started looking through that, and I played some of that, and figured I'd do a video just talking about the update for Crossout for anyone else out there who likes Crossout.
Yeah,
Um,
apparently there's a lot.
yeah, it's a fun game. I love it. And I'm definitely happy with some of the changes they're making to this battle pass.
Are the
Uh,
changes like more drastic? It's a huge improvement from the first Battle Pass?
I wouldn't say it's like totally different, but for anyone interested, you can go over there and watch that video. But for just a quick breakdown of some of the changes, so the first battle pass they had gave you like a whole lot of parts and gear and weapons and stuff from like one faction, like a new faction they introduced,
Yeah.
and it looked like construction equipment. So imagine something like you could build like a giant bulldozer looking thing, or those kind of parts is what you could essentially put together to make something to look like. Um, but and like if you didn't really get into those style parts, I mean, you pretty much just left out and didn't really have much interest in the battle pass. This time, they've introduced three new factions and have kind of broken it up. So as you play through, you get pieces from each of them. The first faction is very much like what you'd expect to see out of like Mad Max, like more kind of junky, worn looking parts, lots of spikes on everything. Um, the next faction, like you could use to build like something that looks very similar to like an M1 Abrams tank, like some very high armor, like a lot of like tank looking parts, like exhaust vents, very military style looking stuff. And then the third faction is far more like sci-fi, futuristic. Looks like you could build like a space rover or a moon buggy or something like that. Um, so it gives you a lot wider variety, and each faction comes with like some cool backgrounds to customize your banner. They give you some paint for each faction, a bunch of parts. Each faction also gets a weapon and a new cabin. Um, and the battle pass is only $10 for the just the
Oh,
straight battle
wow.
pass. There's a $35 one where you can get it and kind of do a tier skip like what Call of Duty does.
Yeah.
But I mean, I played the last battle pass, and I mean, I pretty much just mainly did the weekly challenges and some of the daily challenges. I mean, I finished it like well before it was over because it's got 3 months until it's over. Um, so I think as long as you play the game a little bit, you'll be fine getting a $10 battle pass.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I really do hope more games introduce battle pass systems. Even I don't know. Oddly enough, like I think it could work in a single player game, like something like an Assassin's Creed, like add in content that you can earn. Well, I don't know. Maybe not Assassin's Creed because it wouldn't fit the lore, but something similar to that would be kind of cool.
I mean, you could definitely do something like, add in some missions and add in a new progression scale and say, okay, if you get to this point, maybe you get a new sword or some new clothes or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, was it For Honor? They had a battle pass system. I didn't really care for some of the cosmetic looks for things
yeah.
because they have so many characters. Like some of the characters for stuff I wanted was like way down the tier, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to play it this much to level up that much to get the stuff I want. But no, they essentially had a thing where you could get like some engravings for everybody, a couple new costume pieces, and like a couple new parts for your weapons and stuff out of their battle pass.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Um, so last week I had said, what was it? The Outer Worlds and I think Assassin's Creed Rogue. I had like started. Um, so Assassin's Creed Rogue, I think I'm putting down just because one, an Assassin's Creed game comes out this year that I'm very much looking forward to, and Rogue is like the older style Assassin's Creed to where it feels clunky and
Yeah.
it's a little annoying. Like there's a section where you have to like hunt some deer, and I was trying to run up a tree, and I ran up the tree, and then instead of going through the branches to move forward, the character turned around and jumped the opposite way, and I was like, oh yeah, this is what I didn't like about these old games. Is like the parkour and climbing was just it was terrible.
Yeah.
So. That was an Xbox 360 PS3 game that was remastered. So I'm kind of like, I really want to know the story because it is the first time you play as an assassin that turns into a Templar. But I don't know if it's going to be worth it. But I did play a lot more of the Outer Worlds. And last week I had played, I think I said like, I don't know, it was maybe between an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I was kind of lukewarm on it. Right now I'm 17 hours into that game. And then I
I
think
take
like
it it's grown on you.
okay, so like ask me that halfway through the week, and I'd be like, you know what, this game is actually really great. But now I'm like, you know what, they are really just copying Fallout, and it's kind of annoying, like down to a T. Like, so I will say that the writing and dialogue is far superior to any Fallout, but that's still not something to like be proud of because Fallout writing is pretty like subpar. It gets you through the story. It's not terrible. There's some witty and like sarcastic humor in this game with characters, but the story itself isn't really hitting hard. There's the twist when you learn the truth of something, and it's like, oh, okay, that didn't really deliver. There's like there's a faction quest which sounds cool because it reminded me of Fallout New Vegas, but with that you had two factions and you can choose between, and then like there's it kind of affected the story. In this game there's only one faction, and it doesn't do anything to the story. It's kind of like a smaller story style side quest, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is fine. i I mean, it's gotten to the point now to where like I'm just skipping through the text uh, in the dialogue sections. I'm like, I don't even care what I select anymore. I just want to like try to I'm being picky and choosy, I guess. Like with most of the single or the main quests, I do take my time to because the choices matter, and I don't want to like mess something up too terribly. But so far, it's like the story seems pretty forgettable. I don't know why this game was praised so much. It's fun. I enjoy it. Um, but like I will say there's this one city you go to late in the game called Byzantium, and
Hmm.
it's this like really nice like BioShock style city. It looks really cool. And right now I don't remember exactly what I did, but I am not allowed to go back there. Like when I land my ship and get out, immediately hundreds of little red dots just appear on my like compass above, like the show you where to go and stuff. Just immediately I am completely in hostile territory. And
Is this one of those things where you accidentally skipped some really important like context to the story somehow?
no, I had to sneak into this building to get this what was it? I don't even remember. It was some type of chemical that the scientist needed, and it was part of the main quest. and I couldn't get past this security area without immediately being spotted by guards, and these guards will just immediately start shooting you. And in order to do it peacefully, I either needed my intimidate up to 70, which was only at 35. And when you level up, you only get 10 skill points. So I'd have to level up a good chunk. And I only had a few more levels to go. So it'd be like I have to only invest into intimidate,
Yeah.
or there was another way that you can do it, but it required a decision to be made earlier in the story, and I made the opposite decision. So I was kind of like screwed. So it was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to go in there and just open fire. And like, you have a reputation system with every faction. And, you know, if you do good things, it increases. If you do bad things, it decreases. And so killing members of that faction will immediately decrease your reputation. So I just like, all right, whatever, go inside. I start getting shot at. I start killing the security guards, and I just keep the notification. Your reputation with, I don't even remember who, has decreased. Your reputation with this has decreased. And it just kept saying that. I'm like, dude, this is, and I went to look at the stats, and like my reputation with that company is like 100% negative now. And
Hmm.
they revere me, or not revere, I don't even remember it, but it's pretty much like shoot on site. Uh, any vendors that sell through that place, their prices are marked up like 1,000%. So I can't buy anything from this company. And so
We,
stuff like that is cool. It's just it's meant for multiple playthroughs, but I have no intention to play this game other than the one time, and the story isn't strong enough to like justify a one playthrough run, which I guess makes sense. I mean, if they designed the game to be replayed, they need to make the story interesting enough in a way that it's like there's multiple ways you can go. But if you want to run through it one time, then it's not very satisfying because it's just kind of like it's an okay story. It's an okay game. Um,
yeah, I definitely don't like that option to where like it pretty well puts you into a no-win situation unless you made some decision totally different hours ahead of time.
yeah, it was really annoying. And then like, there's a choice you make with there's these they're warring companies in this world, and you can choose. You're doing missions for both to get their trust for this overarching story, and you can earn their trust completely, and then you get the option to do like, oh well, instead of picking one over the other, you can get the peaceful option. I didn't have access to the peaceful option because I didn't do the optional quest for the other one of the other factions or groups. But it was never like hey, you should probably do this. It was like an optional quest, and optional means you can or can't do this, and I chose not to do it. And then all of a sudden I was locked out of the peaceful option. So I was like, I mean, I wish this game was a little more obvious with what it was doing, but maybe that was the point. You know, if the game is designed a specific way, I can complain about it, but it doesn't really matter. If it's made that way, it's supposed to be made that way. It's like someone complaining that a Dark Souls game is too hard. Like, well, that's the point. You know, it's
Yeah.
designed to be difficult. But I'm still enjoying it. I think I can finish it tonight. I'm kind of hoping I do, so I want to start one more game and finish it before The Last of Us Part Two comes out, because I really want to get through as much of my backlog as I can. Just because it seems like it's like every game there's something coming out, or every month there's June is The Last of Us Part Two, July is Ghost of Tsushima, August is the Mafia remake, and then September is Cyberpunk, and that's just one of the games. And there's no telling what's coming out after that, you know.
Yeah, and then I think the next Call of Duty will be coming out after that soon too.
So I'm really wanting to not get the next Call of Duty. I always say that every year, like ever since I don't know Black Ops 3, I've been like, nope, Black Ops 3 was disappointing to me, and so every Call of Duty, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I think this one might be the year because this was supposed to be Sledgehammer's and Raven Software's game, and then they had like a falling out or some type of like they weren't working together well. So Treyarch came in, and Treyarch made you know 2 years ago. So they needed one more year to work on their game. So they're like cutting into not only what two different studios were working on, they're stopping what they were working on while also working on Blackout. And so I feel
Yeah,
like
I'm
this.
assuming that this one I'm going to be a little hesitant. This one's got a lot to prove to me because it sounds like there's a huge mess going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
And especially when you get so many studios overlapping in production and, all this kind of behind the scenes drama going on, a lot of that I'm getting the feeling is going to show in this game. So when it comes out, I'm probably not going to get this one at release. I'm probably going to wait a little bit and
yeah,
see exactly what people are saying about it because I'm expecting that there's going to be a lot of glitches, a lot of bugs, a lot of weird stuff going on in the game. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the feeling I'm getting from this.
yeah. And just because they're promising a single player, we're assuming it's going to be a zombies mode because it's Treyarch, and then of course multiplayer. Out of the three, I think they could get away with not having zombies, just because Sledgehammer and Raven had already started on the single player mode, which was the single player campaign, which is supposed to be set during the Cold War, which is why it's rumored to be. I think it's pretty much confirmed now that it is Call of Duty Cold War or Black Ops Cold War. I think we talked about that last week actually.
Yeah.
Um, and so that makes sense, but it's like zombies is bigger than the campaign. More people play zombies. Some people even just buy Call of Duty just to play zombies and not actually the multiplayer or the campaign. So I don't know. I feel like this year's Call of Duty is going to be either bare bones and then they're going to update it throughout the months, or it is going to be like, oh, this doesn't feel like much of a, I don't want this year's Call of Duty to come out and not be as good looking or impressive as Modern Warfare from last year, which, that one looked awesome.
I
That
mean,
was a
I'm
well
still
made.
enjoying it. I was
Yeah.
excited to see about um, the next season coming out, but it's been delayed a little bit. I'll definitely be interested to see what they do with this. Um, I guess
Yeah.
getting into some of our news stories, talking about things being delayed.
Yeah. Everything.
Um, yeah, everything got delayed this week. So everyone was real excited to see the PlayStation 5 game reveal event this week, which didn't happen. Uh,
Yeah.
so I get it. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. I mean, it seems like we're pretty much in the middle of the apocalypse.
Uh huh.
We started off with coronavirus, and now we have rioting in the streets everywhere.
Yeah.
So I get that tensions are high, and there's a lot of other news going on, and you want to not only ensure the safety of everybody going on, but also Sony doesn't want to put something out that's going to get pushed back to the very back of the news the
Yeah.
second they put it out. So I do kind of get that. Like it's a little bit of like being a good person and a little bit of like being a sleazy company.
Yeah.
So
Like marketing awesomeness aside, there's still a business that wants to make millions of dollars this holiday season.
yeah,
So
um,
it totally makes sense. It sucks. There are some tidbits of information saying that it might be coming out on June 12th. Like they may announce it on Monday and then have Friday or Thursday be the new date. But I don't know. We won't know until Monday, which sucks.
yeah. I do think that they'll start trying to put something out soon because I can definitely see this starting to give Sony some backlash because they've waited so long.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really long time for like no news, and then to start building everything up and be like, hey, we're going to do it now, and then don't do it. I mean, I get why they didn't do it, but they can't just sit on it for like another month or two. Like they have got to start taking some action.
Yeah. Like nothing new, substantial has been announced from Sony since E3 2017.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how long
crazy.
it's been. Yeah. So it is people are definitely hankering for something. And a lot of people were saying, like, even me included, it was kind of something like positive to look forward to. But I do understand like the reason they're delaying it. But it is something like, man, that's it's a distraction, but that might be the bad idea. Is like it shouldn't be a distraction right now. Everyone's attention needs to be on like more important matters, and then Sony kind of sees that, but it's also like, well, I don't know, because I mean, people are obviously going to buy the PlayStation 5. You could do a
Yeah,
week of marketing if people are going to buy it.
I definitely think that I'm just ready for things to get to some sort of state of normalcy again, to where, we can, we can just start, looking at, new video games and movie releases without like a worldwide pandemic and all this
Yeah,
other like terrible stuff going on.
I'm going to go back to being miserable only at work, not when I come home, and then like, oh yeah, this stuff. No, no, we'll have to. I mean, obviously we'll have to wait and see, but hopefully it's huge. Hopefully, some more things can happen now that the date's been pushed back. Maybe there was something that was supposed to be shown, later this week, and now it's going to be involved into the PlayStation 5 event, if that even happens this week. I do know that on the 26th or 25th of June, Sony has a investor call meeting, so they have to have this information out before then. Like, they
Okay.
have to, because they're going to be talking about it then, publicly too. So everything that
Yeah,
they talk
that's
about
not
then,
where they want their reveal to be.
exactly. So, and I think they're going to want it sooner than later, because I mean, who knows? Things could get worse, and then they keep digging themselves a hole. So they might as well just get it out there now. And I mean, people are going to buy it no matter what. I don't know what's going to stop them from that.
The
Moving on to,
apocalypse.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, it started with Australia on fire, and now it's just pure chaos. Uh, yeah, it's a little nuts,
Yeah.
but
All
well,
right. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no,
We'll,
you're
we'll
good.
we'll hopefully make it through the rest of the video before the apocalypse continues.
Yeah, if this video has not been posted, then I guess you wouldn't know because it will be posted. But so, Kingdoms of Amalur, Re-Reckoning, which is a pretty cool title, just got announced a few days ago from recording. The studio that is responsible for this it was leaked, and they came out and said, "Oh yeah, it's true," And then they were like, "Oh yeah," and it comes out August 11th, which is awesome. Except it's like right in between Ghost of Tsushima and the Mafia remake. So I'm like,
Oh no,
oh yeah.
that's a bad time.
And this is a awesome game. It came out on the 360. I don't know if it came out on the PS3. I could be wrong. I don't remember. It was made by a new studio called 38 Studios, and that was founded by a baseball player. And it was a very interesting story, because this game is incredible. Like, the story, the lore, the gameplay, it merges like so many awesome things into an open world RPG, or at least an openish world RPG. It is great though. Like, the combat is like old school God of War, but it feels amazing. There's so many weapons, and the lore is like insane. And this is a new world. Like, it was built from the ground up, and I can't remember the guy who worked on the world. I think his name was like S.A. Salvatore or S.R. Salvatore. I can't remember. I'm butchering it, and I should have looked up more into this, but it's an awesome world. I remember this game was incredible. And the one thing, though, is that I believe the company was in Rhode Island, and they took $1 million loan from the state of Rhode Island to like fund the game, or fund the studio like working on it. And they weren't able to actually get the money back. And so they went bankrupt. They made
Oh
one
no.
game, and it was amazing, and then it went bankrupt. And EA actually published the game, so they owned the rights to it. And who was it? THQ Nordic, who is basically THQ from the grave, bought the rights for it, and I guess they worked with EA, or they bought the license, or I can't remember. I don't know how business works, but they bought something, and they worked with EA to get a deal going to where they can re-release it. It's basically a remaster, and I am super excited about this, because I really did enjoy playing it, back then. I don't know if I'll play it now, just because I feel like it's crammed. It's going to be another situation. You remember the game Greedfall that I talked about so
Yeah.
much? And I was like super excited for it, and then when I finally got to it, I was like, oh, this is a big game. I don't know, the quality. Like, you put something like this, Kingdoms of Amalur, next to something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I'm playing Valhalla all day. Like, you
Yeah.
can't stop me, and like this coming, right after Ghost, which is going to be amazing, and then right before the Mafia remake, which hopefully will be amazing. So, and it's, I don't know, it's a
You think
cool.
this is going to be a title you'll pick up like later when it goes on sale then?
Oh
Or
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because what was it, like the Outer Worlds, that I'm playing now? When it was announced, I was like, no, this looks stupid. I don't care. It's just Fallout again. And then it was on sale for $20. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'll play a Fallout for $20, and it definitely worth $20. But I wouldn't have spent $60 on the Outer Worlds, or if I did, I would have been disappointed.
yeah.
But that's just me. I mean, there's a lot of it's won some awards, and it gets a lot of praise, and it's fine. I mean, it's just one thing I didn't understand about that game is that everyone was saying like, oh yeah, it's Obsidian, they made the best Fallout, so yeah, take this Bethesda, look what they did. I'm like, you guys like literally just remade Fallout down to the bugs. Like it's like all the issues that I've had with Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4 are in the Outer Worlds. Like I don't know how many times, and I have footage of this that I was going to use for my review whenever I review it, of like me walking up to a character and them just staring at me blankly for like 30 seconds before they start talking. And I'm like, I remember this in Fallout 3. You go up to a
Oh,
character and it
no.
has to like catch up to like, oh hey, how are you doing? And I'm like, I've been standing here for 30 minutes, dude. But yeah, so Kingdoms of Amalur, definitely I would suggest people checking it out, with a trailer when it drops. But I don't know, it's a special game. It is awesome. It is unique. It's basically a single player MMO, in terms of like the world building and lore and stuff, with awesome combat. I enjoyed it back then. I would like to play it again just to see what they've changed, but the timing is probably pretty bad, at least especially going into next gen. But yeah, definite pickup when it drops in price.
So, speaking of pretty bad, um, apparently the Sega has just released the Game Gear Mini. So this, I guess they're trying to cash in on like all the miniature consoles and stuff like the Nintendo and PlayStation have been putting out and have seen some success in.
Mm-hmm.
So Sega's like, oh yeah, we can totally jump in and do this. So they're they put out 4 different variants of the Sega Game Gear Mini, and they're $45 a piece. And each one only has like a handful of games on it. I think they've only got like 3 to 5 games on each one.
Yeah.
And each one has different games on it. So that means if you want to play all the games, you're going to have to like buy all of them. So that definitely seems like a little scammy. And then to make it even worse, okay, they're $45 a piece. And if you buy all 4 of them individually, that'd be a little under $200. But if you buy the bundle for $250, they'll give you a magnifier to make the screens bigger.
Yeah.
Because the screens are only 1.7 inches. That's like stupidly small. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Who is this supposed to appeal to? This seems just like a big money grab.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we know we're charging you for a ridiculously small screen, so we're going to charge you for a magnifying glass too to make up for it.
I don't know, that is crazy. Like I do not think people should buy these. That seems like this whole thing is just set up to try and see how much money they can make and see what they can get away with. This really seems to be pushing it for me.
Yeah, it's like Atari opened up the hotel in Las Vegas. Like,
Oh
why?
yeah. Well, I mean
Like,
that's a little bit different because I mean that's all like a venture and like you could go stay there and get something out of it. I'm
yeah.
like for this like $45 is a bit expensive, and see with the Nintendo consoles and the PlayStation console, I mean they each had like 20 something games on them, and there was just one. And I'm pretty sure they were a little bit cheaper than this, weren't they? I don't remember them being
Uh,
like it might have been about the same price, but I think one
I
of them was like $20 or something.
so the PlayStation Classic launched at $100, but no one bought it. So I think less than 6 months after that, they dropped it to $19.99.
Okay, that's what it was.
And even then, people were like, "No, don't buy it."
But now this just seems way overpriced. They're super small. They seem like they'd be awkward to hold and play because I mean they're really tiny. Um, and then they've segmented the games on these so much, and there's not even like any like super big titles. You're like, oh man, I got to get that one to play that. So I just don't really see the overall appeal in this. I'm like, I would really love to see, you know, every once in a while they'll release like a Genesis collection or something.
Yeah,
I had a Genesis. I played the crap out of it. I loved it. I mean, I'd much rather just buy a Genesis collection on the PlayStation Store. But I'm like, if they came out with like a Genesis Mini and, had wireless controllers and had like, like 100 games or something on it, I mean, that would be, more understandable than this. And they've done similar stuff to that, but I'm like, that's where I think they should try and focus more on if they're going to do something like this. Then here's a Game Gear, it's $45, and you get like 3 games on it.
yeah. It's a bit more of a joke announcement. I think. Well, not. I mean, it's obviously not a joke. This is very real. But it's like, oh man, what are you doing? Like
There,
Sega used to be so like revered and highly respected, and now they're releasing a tiny toy for
yeah,
$45.
I just feel like they're trying to capitalize on this whole nostalgia thing, and they're just seeing what they can charge to get away with stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
if they made these like a little bit bigger, and let's say each one had like 20 or 30 games in it, and they were, I mean, hell, if they had more games in it, bigger size, I could see justifiably like a $40 price tag. But for something like, you know, like half the size of a cell phone essentially, and a screen like a little over an inch big, and with like a handful of games on it, I'm like that. I just don't see that being justified.
yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people will want to collect all four because it's kind of like getting little collections and stuff. But uh, I don't know. Like it should have been like $20.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, I'd give it a lot less heat. And don't get me wrong, like I am very much a collector mentality. Like I
Yeah,
don't collect Genesis or Sega stuff. But for some of the stuff I have, I'm like, I know that itch when I'm like, oh no, I hate it, but I have to get it.
yeah.
But
It's like that Kingdoms of Amalur. They announced the collector's edition, and I didn't see the price, but it is like comes with a whole bunch of stuff and like a statue, and I'm like, okay, I might get that just because that would be cool. I probably won't play the game for a while, but I am gonna get that because it did look pretty cool. I actually need to relook at everything because it was listed on Amazon. But yeah,
okay.
Sega, not a good choice. But I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe it'll work in their favor. We'll have to see. So with our next story, I'm not sure when exactly the date came out or when it was announced, but The Last of Us Part 2 review embargo is June 12th, which is next Friday. And that's got to tells you that it tells me that Sony and PlayStation have a lot of confidence in this game. If they're able to, they're like, yeah, let people know you got copies and let people know that the review is coming out a week before the release, and so that's normally a sign of confidence. Which I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less coming from Naughty Dog.
I think they have good reason to be confident in this game because, I mean, The Last of Us Part 1 is probably one of the best single player experiences I've played.
Yeah,
And as long as they bring that level of, storytelling and polish to the second one, I don't see what they have to be afraid of.
yeah. Did you ever play Uncharted 4?
I did not. I haven't really played too many of the Uncharted games.
Okay, so that game was great. the story was awesome. They did a lot with it, and that was so. Unfortunately, Amy Hennig, who made Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, was working on 4, but I think she was let go. There might have been some sort of dispute, but then Bruce Straley and Neil Druckmann from The Last of Us took over and made Uncharted 4, and it was amazing. Then after that, I believe Bruce Straley took a sabbatical and left, and then Neil Druckmann stayed as creative director, and he got moved up to vice president of Naughty Dog, but he's still creative director over The Last of Us Part 2, but he's hired a narrative director and then a gameplay director, so that way he's just kind of like overseeing everything. And so there's some new people on this game. A lot of the people that worked on The Last of Us 1 are no longer there, but it seems like they know what they're doing. And from the they've showed a lot of this game, and from what we've seen, it looks incredible. Like gameplay wise, it looks good, and all of these delays, it gave them time, I'm assuming, to like really polish this game. And one cool thing I didn't even I never brought up, but it was interesting, is that they have that Last of Us Part 2 bundle, the PS4 Pro bundle.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's why they delayed the game, is because they weren't going to be able to ship the disc in time to hit the bundle. So that, well, I wonder if they had like, we got to push this game back. And even with Iron Man VR, that comes with a bundle. And so I wonder if they were like, we can't release these games. We have an obligation with the these retailers to give them this bundle, and we can't do that if one retailers aren't able to sell. So we have to push that back. So I wonder if that was the case.
I don't know. I think it probably has more to do with, the COVID crisis and everything going on too. Because you got to think there's always a lot of like last minute patching. You especially want your studio up and running for a day one patch. Like let's say, people go out, they buy the game, the servers are flooded with people playing stuff, or there's like a really abundant bug that didn't come up for whatever reason, and you need to patch it like ASAP, but your whole staff is still at home and can't work properly to fix it. That could really sink a AAA title, especially like Last of Us. If there's some kind of thing that doesn't work on a large scale release, and they don't have their staff, in the office or capable of fixing it in a timely manner.
Yeah, I see that. But I mean, it being like what, a little over 2 weeks away, or less than 2 weeks away. Yeah, actually, it is less than 2 weeks away as of the Friday that just passed. Less than 2 weeks, so it's like 11 or 12 days.
Tell us in the comments below if there's any news we missed, or if you want to talk about anything else we covered in this episode. Until next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.